right, good morning. Stay tuned for a market update, brief discussion of Brexit, just explain it to people, and what we should do moving forward in UVXY. That and more coming up next now on the Short Vol Show Live. Stay with me. All right, and welcome back, folks, to the Short Vol Show Live. My name is David Lincoln, and we have Brexit in focus this morning as Theresa May just answered Prime Minister questions, and there is a vote at 6 o'clock London time as to whether she will stay in power or not. And let me just talk for a second about why this matters as an American. Of course, I'm half British, but in general, for Americans, let's just go over this for somebody who, let's say, knows nothing about Brexit or any of this stuff. Okay, so the British government, similar to the United States, everybody who's American knows the United States has the two parties, Republicans and Democrats. Well, similarly, in England, the Labour Party would kind of be like the Democratic Party here, and the Conservative Party would kind of be like the Republicans here. Theresa May being a conservative, Jeremy Corbyn being the opposition leader for the Labour Party in England. Now, Brexit deal in June of 2016, a public referendum was held and the public voted to leave the European Union in England. Now, how is this split up? Well, on sort of the mainland of England, the vote was a small majority to leave. However, in Northern Ireland and also in Scotland, they wanted to stay in the Union. So there's a legally binding situation where the UK, where England has to leave the European Union by, I believe it's March 29th of 2019. And I'm pulling up some resources for myself as I do this right now. So the one of the main issues with Brexit is that the United Kingdom, which is composed of England, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, is one of the biggest problems is to do with Northern Ireland, and I'm going to pull up a map right now of the United Kingdom to kind of express this to you. The Northern Ireland is separated from England by the water, of course, and there is a border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. That border has not had a it has not been like a hard border with like checkpoints and all that stuff in a while now, and people want to be sure that it doesn't become a border with, you know, a hard border moving forward. And so they have this thing called the backstop, and what the backstop is they're trying to get an agreement in place that even if no agreement on this Brexit stuff happens before England leaves, or the United Kingdom leaves the EU, they still want to have some sort of agreement in place to make sure that there is not a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. They don't want like a border crossing with checkpoints and all that stuff. And more than just the physical border, it also has to do with economic rules. Now, a lot of people don't want to have a situation where Northern Ireland is still following all of the EU rules, sort of, but England is not. And Theresa May's support, she has, like many governments, has sort of a coalition government, and her support comes from a party that does not support this this backstop agreement. So Theresa May has gone around Europe trying to get a deal together, and what happened yesterday was that there was a scheduled vote for the 11th of December about her the deal that she had put together, and they figured that the vote would not pass, so the vote did not happen. Now, what's happening today with Theresa May is that her own party, the Conservative Party, members of her own party are kind of going against her. So they're going to have a vote within the Conservative Party to say if they support Theresa May or not, and that's what's happening today. Now, this has been widely reported as a lose-lose situation for Theresa May, because if she fails on this vote, she's out of power, and if she succeeds at this vote, it still kind of weakens her hand because it shows that there's not a clear consensus within the Conservative Party. So, not great stuff going around for Theresa May right now. What would the Conservatives like who are against her? They would like a stronger deal. Stronger deal where there are less concessions to the EU. It's already been determined that the United Kingdom is going to have to pay the EU a large sum of money. This breakup will go through. It's legally binding that Brexit will go through, whether there's a deal or no deal. So it would definitely be better for all involved to have a deal in place by then. But the deadline is rapidly approaching. And so what would so I was saying before, the Labour Party is kind of like the Democrats in the United States. What would the Labour Party want? Well, most of the Labour Party appears to want no Brexit. And how would they get to no Brexit? Well, one way they would get to no Brexit is if they could have another referendum, and that referendum, public referendum voted against Brexit. There are, several European Union rules that they have to kind of negotiate here, and it's fairly complicated. But that's just kind of a basic overview of what's going on with Brexit. And it's hard for me as an American to navigate British politics, but I hope that gives you just a little bit of an understanding of what's going on. They definitely don't want a hard border between Northern Ireland and Ireland. They don't want the return of the Troubles, of course, that have plagued that land for so long. And they also don't want some sort of backstop deal that kind of makes it so the United Kingdom still pretty much is in EU because of the terms of the backstop deal. So it's a tough situation to figure out. And at this point, it appears that there's going to be sort of gridlock, and it appears that Theresa May is not going to stay in power. But we'll have to wait and see. That vote's coming up later today. Meanwhile, in in the financial markets, we have a rally going on. Really frustrating for me in UVXY because I basically covered at the top, which is upsetting to admit, but it's just kind of what happened. I was short the 67.70 call vertical expiring this week, and we got up around 70, and I covered, which turned out to be a bad trade and a money loser. If I just hung out, it would have been fine because UVXY has clearly gone back down. We're not totally out of the water yet, as we're still in backwardation. Right now, the VIX 2077 down about a point, but still, as I said, in backwardation. We can look at the chart real quickly here. I've never wanted with this channel, I want to portray a real view of somebody trading, and so you get to see me stumble at times, and I hope that you understand that is how things happen as a trader. We stumble at times. Things don't always go our way. If you're watching people on YouTube that are, showing these winning trades, and a lot of people, they're showing all winning trades because they want to sell you something. They want to you to sign up for their services and whatnot. And so a lot of times you'll hear these people talking, and it will sound unbelievable how they seem to always be right. And if you use your common sense, somebody who is guessing sort of like it's a coin flip type situation and appears to be right every time, well, there's something not quite right there. But anyway, yeah, bad trading by me into last week, because if we look at UVXY here, and we can back this up to like a 10-day view. So I was short the 67.70, and which I sold somewhere around here last week, and it rocketed up to 70, and I panicked and covered my position. Unfortunate, because things have gone right back down. Now, who knows? We could pop right back up again. Anything could happen, but I have initiated again a short position farther out this time. So I've sold some January call verticals to once again be short UVXY, and we'll have to see how it goes moving forward. We definitely have a rally today. If we look at the E-minis here, we see, well, it's rallied a little bit, but we're still in this downtrend. And, can we break out of this downtrend? That's the question here. If we back this up a little bit further, you can see it's just another move in this channel, another fluctuation in this channel. So will this go up a little bit further and then we're right back down again? Does this zigzag just continue to make lower highs and lower lows, and we just continue lower? That seems certainly possible and likely. Or do we have that Christmas rally and we're able to rally above this 2820 level here and move and make actual progress to the upside? Well, we're a ways away from that right now. Certainly it would be nice if we could just stay in this channel for a while and kind of establish that we're moving sideways as opposed to down. That would be nice. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ and see if it looks any different. NASDAQ does look similar. And we can look at, what else do we have here? The Dow futures. Sorry, my charts are kind of all over the place here today. Sometimes I have problems with Thinkorswim because it like resorts everything for me, and it can make it confusing. So here's my Dow futures. Let me move them up to where I usually have them. Dow futures up 265 right now. So rally still on. If we look at the VIX chart, we see it kind of coming lower, but still just kind of oscillating here. So it appears that if this thing gets down anywhere near 16 again, that it's a buy, right? Because we're just sort of oscillating in this channel until we break out of it. So a tough one to trade right now, folks, definitely. And I know there's some people out there who are killing it. Congratulations to you. I'm not one of those people right now. However, I am short once again, UVXY. All right, so thanks for checking in with me. I'm going to actually look on here and see if I can see any commentary, because I don't respond. I haven't been responding to chat in real time, which I apologize for. So I'm going to try to be better at that. Here, I'm writing in chat right now. Backwardation is coming in a bit. Hope the market tanks. We're still actually in backwardation. If we look at VIX Central here, so if we look at VIX Central here, the only two futures that matter as far as VXX and UVXY are concerned are this December and January future. UVXY is composed of a mix of these two futures. If we go to the UVXY ProShares website, we can look at daily holdings, and that will show us, well, there's a swap in here, which can be confusing to people, but that's just a cheaper way of them orchestrating the same thing. But ignore the swap here for a second, and you look and you see that the December futures, we've got 3,400 of here, and the Jan futures there are 9,500 of. So more weighted towards Jan right now as we head towards the future. Every day we will be selling a more Dece and buying more Jan until we move to expiration on the 19th, at which point it will be all Jan futures, and then we will start buying Feb futures and selling Jan. So the only two futures involved right now are the front 2 months, and that's always the case except for that 1 day a month when it's just one future. Okay, so let's do a couple questions. This is kind of fun. Would you use a short stock position and hold it till it goes back to contango? Well, that's definitely a possibility. The problem with a short stock position, there's a couple problems. Problem number one is if we're talking about UVXY, it's very hard to borrow, which means that to short the stock, you need to find shares to borrow to short. And if you have a big account at, for example, TD Ameritrade, if you have a big account of, let's say, over $100,000, you can sign up for their short, hard to borrow program, it's called, which will allow you to be sort of first in line when they need to find shares for you. However, you do pay a little bit for that right. You will pay it's kind of like a interest to short the stock. The problem also is twofold, because if you can get the shares to short, you could get bought in at any point, which means that you borrow shares to short, and then the shares can be called back away from you. The person who loaned them to you might need them for something else, and so you're going to get a notice that you were bought in. So all of a sudden, you'll find that you're no longer short those shares, and you'll have to go back into the market and re-short it again, find new shares to short, or make some other plan, which can be risky as well. The other problem with shorting these issues, now if you're shorting, you could short UVXY, or TVIX would be an option, or VXX. The other problem with shorting these issues is that when you short a stock or a security, it gives you unlimited risk to the upside. This thing can go up a long ways, and if it goes up too much and you don't have enough money in your account, then you'll be forced to cover at a terrible price. That's the worst thing in the world, I can tell you, is if this thing were to spike. Let's say UVXY spiked to 80 and you shorted it at 80, and then that same day it got up to 100, you were forced to cover, pay 105, and then all of a sudden thing goes right back down to 60. That's the worst thing in the world if you're forced to cover. So yes, you can short it, but if you're going to short it, I would recommend that it be a very small percentage of your account, say less than 2% of your account, and that you leave the other 98% of your account in cash to sustain moves to the upside. So my alternative to shorting the stock is to use put spreads, buying put spreads, or sell call spreads, because that way I know how much I'm risking, I know how much I can lose, and I'm not going to get a call or a tap on the shoulder saying, Dave, you need to cover, because I'm only risking money that I actually have in my account. So, and you can pick different call spreads. A call spread, a call vertical, selling one call and buying another in the same month, just different strikes, is the same thing as a put vertical. They are related to one another, and they are two sides of the same coin. So a lot of times people ask me, should I sell a call spread or buy a put spread? And essentially, they're the same thing. So let me just illustrate that to you by taking an actual example here, okay? So UVXY, trading 61.50 right now. If I wanted to short this without selling shares, I could sell a call spread. So for example, I could sell the, let me move out slightly. I could sell the Jan 60-65 call spread. Let's just use that example. So I sell the Jan 60 call, I buy the Jan 65 call, and this has it the midpoint being $1.90. So let's call it $2. So I sell the Jan 60-65 call spread for $2. The most it can be worth is $5. So I'm betting 5 to make 2. If UVXY is below 60 on Jan expiration, I will collect the whole $2 I sell it for. If UVXY is 65 or above, I will lose $3, which is basically the distance between the strikes, 5 minus what I sold it for. So 5 minus 2 would be $3. So if this is 65 or above at expiration, I will lose $3. All right, so what's the difference with the put spread? So if I sell this call spread for $2, that would be the same thing as buying the same put spread for $3. So let's look at this put spread here. Buy the Jan 65 put, sell the Jan 60 put. All right, it has the midpoint 313. So you notice how the call spread midpoint was 190 and the put spread midpoint was 313. So off by 3 cents essentially. So if you're selling the Jan 60-65 call spread for $1.90, that's the same thing as buying the put spread for 310, because the way we do the math on that is the spread is worth, the distance between the strikes is $5. So if I sell the call spread for 190, that is $5 minus 190 is 310. It's buying the put spread for 310. So when I look at this trade, well, which would you rather do? Buy the call spread or sell the put spread? Well, if we're using the prices at the midpoint here, right now, they're exactly the same, because selling the call spread for 190 is exactly the same as buying the put spread for 310. When the put spread was trading 313, we would rather sell the call spread for 190 than buy the put spread for 313, because you have 3 more cents that you're getting for it. But yeah, the difference between, now there are things with stocks such as dividend plays and assignment on options, but as a basic note, buying a call spread is the same thing as selling a put spread. They're the same exact thing. Let's go on to the next question here. Do you think the Fed will follow through and raise interest rates again? I personally do think the Fed will follow through and raise interest rates again. However, you can go and check the odds of that by looking at the Fed funds rate. There is at the Chicago Board of Trade, there's a Fed funds pit where the odds are established on how likely it is for the Fed to raise rates again. Off topic, do you miss the days when you were a big-time stockbroker in the dot-com day, or is life better now? All right, well, thanks for that question. That allows me the opportunity to state that I was not a stockbroker. A stockbroker is somebody who buys and sells stocks for a customer. What I was a market maker, and so my customer, or I'm sorry, I guess you could say my customer, I had a couple rich guys who were backing me. They put all the money in my account, and I took that money and made more for them. I wasn't calling up individuals and saying, can I have some of your money and I'm going to tell you which stocks to put in. That's what a stockbroker would do. I didn't deal with the public specifically as a market maker. What I did is I stood there and I took the other side of orders from all the public houses like Charles Schwab, Merrill Lynch, and Goldman Sachs, and all the big companies. They would have public customer retail orders, and they would come in and say, at what price can I buy this call? And I would make a market. I would say, as a market maker, what you're responsible for is a market in size. So if somebody comes in and says, UVXY, Jan 65 calls, I would say 435 bid at 470, I'm 25 up, something like that. That means the price I'll pay for something, the price I'll sell it for, and how much size it is. Do you miss the days when you were big time? Well, it was a fun time for me back then. And unfortunately, It was weird for me though because I made a lot of money, but for some reason I wasn't happy, and I had demons plaguing me. And I've resolved a lot of that stuff as an older man now. And even though I don't have the income that I did back then, I believe I'm happier now. I really enjoy the YouTube channel and all that stuff as well, and I love teaching people. Let's welcome the new Prime Minister of the UK. Wouldn't that be something? I was watching a program talking about the odds of who could become the next Prime Minister, or at least who could become the next leader of the Labour Party. And it's kind of up in the air if Theresa May goes down, who would be the next leader of the Labour Party. I'm sorry, of the Conservative Party. I do believe that Jeremy Corbyn is the leader of the Labour Party right now, and therefore he would become Prime Minister as opposed to somebody else if Labour takes over. As far as the Conservatives, I don't think a frontrunner has shown themselves yet, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm at a certain disadvantage, of course, discussing British politics because I am here in the United States, and I'm just I don't know I know comparatively little, so I apologize for that. All right, so yes, my feeling. I just wanted to say one more thing about the raising of interest rates. My feeling is that, and this is not a partisan thing at all, but I feel that the Fed should be independent of the president. That they should be appointed or elected, and then left to do what they see as right. And the reason for that is that the president and the political parties, they have other forces pulling at them, whereas the Fed should be concerned with the economy and how to stimulate the economy, how to grow the economy, and should be independent of, more independent of political concerns, whereas a president has constituents and has all these other forces pulling them in different directions and people that they need to appease. So I think that the president should not interfere with the Fed's job. I think you should appoint the best person you can and then let them do their job. As a president, you can't know everything about everything, and you need to rely to some extent on your on experts. Are variance swaps something a retail trader should look at, or should we stick to vol ETFs? I'm not sure what you mean by variance swaps. Are you talking about like sort of the swaps that they're showing on the ProShares website? It's hard to tell exactly what the swaps are on the ProShares website. They could, because it's not been disclosed. We do know that they're most likely using those swaps because they're over the counter and thus don't have the stringent margin requirements that actual futures do. But it's been speculated that those swaps could either be something that just that acts like UVXY in that it changes every day of the month to reflect a little bit more of the next month's future, or it could be that they just model one future or another specifically, but it hasn't been disclosed what those swaps do. As far as in general OTC swaps, I am not an authority on that, so I don't want to comment and steer you in the wrong direction on that. I don't want to stick my neck out there and say something stupid when I don't know a lot about it. I do know about trading customized options on something. For example, if you wanted to make a risk collar on something and you wanted it to be to cost nothing, how would you set that up? I can model certain options as far as like customized creating options, but as far as like other sort of swaps, I don't know about it, so I'm not gonna put my foot in my mouth. Moneymaker. Thanks for your comments, though. I do appreciate your input, and I will take a look at vol variance swaps because I don't know about that. So we will see what happens with Theresa May moving on today. I've been following it. I always love watching the Prime Minister questions because I love listening to those people heckle in the background and stuff. And it seems like, in a way, sort of a more transparent government setup than we have here. I mean, when you try to watch C-SPAN in the United States, sometimes it's just so boring. The UK one seems more exciting at times than in the U.S. So VIX 2065 right now, and it seems like the back months have been pretty much staying in the same spot, somewhere between 19 and 20 for a pretty long time. It seems like we generally will stay in backwardation unless the VIX is below, let's say, 18, and that really hasn't moved. I would expect that if we stay at this level long enough that the back months would move up higher and we'd actually be in contango right here, but that really hasn't happened as of yet. Thank you, Didzy. So we'll see what happens moving forward with UVXY. It seems like every time it goes down, it's a buy. So I wouldn't be surprised if some people would see it here as a buy and scoop some here looking to sell it at a higher price. That's worked so many times before that it seems like every time UVXY goes down, it pops right back up. At some point, that's not going to work because mathematically speaking, this thing has to move lower. It's just a question of can you hold out until it does move lower. And so we'll have to wait and see. But for me right now, I have gotten short again, and although I've moved out a little bit to January, and what did I sell? I sold the January 60-62 call vertical for, I believe, 84 cents because I'm looking for a little calm going through the holidays. We've talked about a Christmas rally. The holidays seem to come and go very quickly, so we'll have to see what happens. If we just stay in this channel, let's pull up the E-mini. If we just stay in this channel for a while longer, volatility will come in at some point. However, realized volatility has been very, very high, and there's a lot of people that have been saying, well, the VIX should be higher for how much these indices are moving around every day. So it wouldn't be surprising to me if we see real volatility coming in a little bit and these things not moving around as much, but the VIX not move lower. Every time they take it down, it seems to pop right back up. And I know the people that are trading futures notice that just like we do, that every time it goes down, it pops right back up. But that should make them more resistant to bringing these futures down as quickly as they have in the past. But, if you look at the chart right now, it's moving down. So we get a rally for a couple days. It doesn't mean we're out of the woods in any extent. And I think this volatility will continue. The key as a trader is to figure out how to profit from this volatility. People, when the markets were doing nothing, everybody asked for volatility. Well, here you have volatility. So you need to figure out a way to profit from it. Tilray, down, just down, down, down. It seems like it's just heading lower. And this is due, as I've talked about before, partially to dilution. A lot of the shares that were locked up are becoming unlocked. And if you own Tilray and watched it have this tremendous rally, I'm sure these people sitting on the sidelines that own shares that were like insiders wish they could have sold some of them up around the 300 area. And as soon as this unlock comes, if I saw this chart and I owned, 80% of my net worth was in Tilray, and all of a sudden I was able to sell my shares, you could better believe I would be selling them now. So as soon as these lockout dates come about, people will be selling shares, and they will be figuring out ways to lock in a sale ahead of time. I mean, if you were going to have these shares that were locked out, you would try to maybe get some sort of collar against them, or you would try to buy puts ahead of time against them. And so there's definitely a case for being short Tilray right now. we'll see how much lower it goes, but there's definitely a case for being short that one. As far as Afria, I've talked about this before. I think that any pops in this are going to get whacked back down, but we'll have to wait and see. But I just see the stock moving nowhere for a while. The vote in UK Parliament seems postponed indefinitely. Next week, December 17th, will be important. Could be internal leadership challenge or opposition no confidence vote. Yeah, I mean, there's supposed to be a vote today on Theresa May from inside the Conservative Party. As Jeremy Corbyn pointed out, that doesn't really help anything in as far as Brexit, because it's just more red tape and more squabbling. So yeah, not the end of Brexit at all. And I agree. Everything's just going to get postponed and postponed. When you talk about resistance in UVXY, I really don't like to use the term of resistance when it comes to vol ETPs, because you've got something that's a derivative of something else, and they don't. When you're talking about traditional technical analysis of something that's a derivative of something else, it seems too far removed from what actually is trading to have a whole lot of meaning to me. So I don't like to discuss like resistance in a chart with UVXY, because I don't see it as like the demand and supply in UVXY is not coming from people buying or selling UVXY. It's coming from the demand and supply of the futures and thus of the SPX puts. And the futures and XPS and the SPX puts don't have a psychological barrier of 70 because they are on other scales away from that. So I don't see 70 as resistance. And I think I would speak for most people who follow the VIX would not be looking for support and resistance lines in an actual chart of UVXY. Anyways, all right, thanks, folks. Thank you so much for your comments and for participating in the chat. Hi, Mike Kaiser. Thanks to all of you for participating. I really appreciate that. I apologize that I don't look at the chat more. Sometimes I just come on, just talk and leave. But it is fun to interact with people. Thank you for doing that. And we'll see what happens moving forward. Good luck to everybody trading, and happy holidays. If I don't talk to you before then, I will be on before then, of course. But if you aren't on seeing me, happy holidays, and I should be back tomorrow with more fun and entertainment. Thanks for watching, folks, and we will see you soon.